Hello and welcome to this edition of Tour Confidential on Golf.com. I'm Jessica Marksbury, joined today in our Lower Manhattan studio by Golf.com's Alan Bastable. Justin Thomas managed to come away with the win at the Tournament of Champions in Hawaii over the weekend. But Alan, it looks like in the future this event could have a different look. PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan has said he'd like to incorporate the LPGA Tour in the future. Now, we've talked a lot on this show about mixed events and how they should look, but what are your thoughts on the ideal format for a Tournament of Champions setup?
Yeah, I was excited to hear it. I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense, particularly for that event. We've spoken about it here before. It's definitely lost some sizzle over the years. I think it makes great sense. The question is, how would you structure such an event? You know, I think maybe the first two rounds, you could sort of mix the groups up, and then over the weekend, they would play individually, and maybe alternate it so that you'd have a winning woman on the 18th green, and then the next group in, the men would come through and you'd crown a men's champion. So there'd be a lot of fun ways to do it. Obviously, it'd be a great promotional opportunity for the LPGA Tour. One of the other things Monahan mentioned last week, they're looking for ways to sort of use the PGA Tour to promote the LPGA, which makes a lot of sense. I think there's plenty of other opportunities, but this would be a good place to start.
One thing that I think they should be cautious of, and I don't know if you'll agree with me on this, but sometimes with mixed events, there's a danger of getting into that kind of cheesy, silly season territory when you have the women playing with the men and it's alternate shot or if a shamble type format. What about just keeping it simple and, you know, the men tee off in the morning, they play stroke play just like normal, and the women play the same exact course just from their tees in the afternoon. I mean, it sounds like, might not be that exciting, but having the men and the women on the same course on the same day, shooting, probably similar scores, I think could be just serious enough to still have some credibility.
Yeah, I don't know. I still like the idea of melding the two, at least for the first two rounds. There's some merit in what you're saying. You think back to the U.S. Open at Pinehurst when They played the men's and women's in consecutive weeks. That was still pretty compelling, even though they obviously weren't intermingled. But I don't know. I think there's an opportunity here to do something different. So I hope they would be maybe a little more ambitious than simply playing two separate fields on the same course.
Well, the best part is we know they're in Hawaii to stay, at least for the foreseeable future. So for those of us in the Northeast, we can smile at those Hawaiian sunsets while we're freezing in the snow. So Alan, thank you so much for your time and insight. And thank you all for joining us on this edition of Tour Confidential on Golf.com. We'll see you right back here next week.